she waited 7 years.
Okay,
You waited 7 years for a project that was out for 7 years.
Tell you the story of Christmas. You want to hear that, don't you?
No!
Well, you're going to hear it anyway. Shut up.
Gambino's getting a little bit of backlash right now for a very specific reason. I want to share this story with you and have a little conversation about this, so let's get into it. Donald Glover, also known as Childish Gambino. The last time we spoke about Gambino, Drake was actually taking some shots at him. You guys remember that video I made? That story aside, Gambino isn't someone who's in the headlines like this, so this is a little unusual. So this story starts with this woman right here. Her name is Giannina Antoinette Ateto. She's a Kenyan fashion model who was actually on the cover to one of Gambino's albums.
I remember this album cover, but this is old as hell. He getting backlash from something that happened like years ago, and I'm talking about years ago. Okay.
Awaken My Love. It's the third studio album by Childish Gambino and was released on December the 2nd, 2016. Very iconic album cover. I mean, honestly, I think this is one of the most iconic album covers in at least like the last decade. I always thought this cover was really just different. It's creative. There's a lot of emotions on Giannina, the model, her face. That kind of makes you go, damn, I definitely want to hear this album after you just see the cover, right? So the cover, I believe, greatly contributed to the album's success, 100%. And it's crazy because I never thought to research who the person who's on the cover is. I mean, I just found out about this woman's existence and her name. Giannina recently put up a post on her Facebook account where she opened up about a couple things. And this is what the Facebook post said. Being able to hold an album that I'm on the cover of and having my bestie mom next to me to celebrate. My number one cheerleader. Crying emoji, praying hands emoji, heart emoji. This album has been so hard for me to celebrate for many reasons. And for years, I resented it even. It put me through a lot, but finally being able to celebrate it means a lot. Now, sometime after this post had been up, a lot of people in the comments were asking, what do you mean it's been so hard for you to celebrate this and why do you resent this cover? And that's when Giannina decided to post an update, and this is what she said. I resented it because myself, the makeup artist and stylist, all black women, were taken advantage of and lied to. She continued and said, we received low pay but were promised residuals but never received anything. The only person who received residuals was a white woman who created the headpiece, even though she was not on a set to work on this, but she also deserves it, she emphasized. After years of lies and silence, then finding out statute of limitation complications, it's been an exhausting, emotional, and overall sad thing to deal with. So it took so much from me, especially the fact that we all worked on it with so much love and being proud to represent black artists. All of my lawyers' communications have been ignored by the artist and his team. Hashtag bittersweet. So that's where the post ends. And essentially we have a fashion model who was on the cover of Childish Gambino's project, Awaken My Love, who was paid a very low fee for the work she did, and apparently she was promised residuals that she never ended up receiving after all these years. Now this post has gone not as viral as I thought it would. This hasn't received a lot of attention at all, but that's why I'm here to talk about it. So the backlash Gambino has been receiving, as in response to this, has obviously been very negative. A lot of people have been spamming paid a woman, paid a woman, paid a woman on his IG. There's been some people who've kind of been a little bit outspoken on Twitter. Really stated that herself, the makeup artist, and the stylist, who were all black women, were taken advantage of and lied to. All of them apparently received low pay and they were all promised residuals, but they never received anything. Just really quickly about that, I will say this. I've actually never heard of anyone getting paid residuals after they've appeared on an album cover. That's not really a thing in the music industry. Now, there are certain cases, but it's very, very rare. Like if it happens, it has to be a very specific situation where maybe the photo in question was licensed from, some kind of like big company that owns a bunch of portraits or whatever. It's a little questionable and it should have you scratching your head like, wait a second, other people don't get paid residuals for being on album covers, why would I get paid? That aside, continuing, and then she specifically stated that the only person who received the residuals was a white woman who was the one who created the headpiece that she has on the album cover. As far as how true this is, well, can't confirm nor deny, but I will say if the white woman in question got residuals and she didn't, that's most likely because she made sure to have them sign something.
Right.
And this is when we get into just making sure that your business is straight when you're in a negotiation. Because Giannina said that they were promised residuals, but she didn't say anything about the fact that Gambino and his team were contractually obliged to actually pay her these residuals.
And I think that's what a lot of people mistake when it comes to the music industry or business, period. Like, you have to have stuff on paper to back up what you were promised and to back up your money. Because if you don't, and you're just going by somebody's word, they can literally don't have to give you anything, or they can prolong it for however long they want to, because y'all don't have a contractual agreement between two of y'all on what you were going to get when it came to this project. So even though if that really happens, she was promised on what she was going to get and did not receive it, that alone is wrong as hell. But at the same time, like he said, you have to have contractual agreement between you two just to save your butt, so you don't have to go through this, because not everybody is going to do right by you. You can't really take anybody's word, especially in the music business, for anything. You just can't. So you really, really have to be on your P's and Q's and really have to be on your shit when it comes to the music industry, the modeling industry, any industry, period, because it's a slimy business. It really is.
Unfortunately, a lot of people haven't gotten paid in the music industry for work that they've done because they decided to believe empty promises. And it's one thing if people promise that they're going to pay you, and it's another thing if they're legally obliged to pay you. Because once you sign that contract that says that you gotta do something, you're now under obligation legally to do it. That's one of the things that immediately jumps out at me as I'm analyzing this story. Now, that's probably the last thing she was thinking about, because hey, I'm gonna be on Childish Gambino's album cover. This is gonna be really big for me. And you know what? I'm gonna take this upfront fee that may not be so big because it's gonna be life-changing, but they promised me that they're gonna pay me residuals. I'm gonna choose to believe that because I really want this opportunity, and they don't do it. What do you do in a situation like that? Well, ain't much you can do, unfortunately, aside from taking it to social media, because you can't really take it to court because they're not legally obliged to pay you. As for the fact that allegedly all the people who didn't get paid were black women, I'll say this about that. With the information that we have right now, I can't really say that that's something that I think holds a lot of weight here, because here's the thing. On top of the fact that people don't usually get paid residuals to appear on album covers, just like I mentioned a second ago, if they're not contractually obliged to pay you, and let's say they paid this white woman, well, they probably paid her because they had to pay her. She made sure of that, and they didn't have to pay you. And the reason why that might have happened, well, negotiating skills. That's really the answer here if you ask me. Because a lot of times, people might be in situations where they might take like a fee that's not all that big, because they might look at the situation and say, this opportunity right here is at the end of the day going to be way bigger than any dollar amount. And that's actually possible. There's a lot of stories of that where someone doesn't get paid for something, but on the back end they end up greatly benefiting because it is such a big opportunity. And sometimes the look in itself ends up paying dividends way more than anything that one-time payment could have ever done for you. Now, I think everybody should get paid. All I'm saying is you can't deny that, like in this case right here, that Giannina being on this album cover literally changed her life. I'm sure she would agree with that. And at the end of the day, she did get paid. However, she just didn't get paid the amount she felt like was adequate. Now, will Gambino just say, you know what, let me just pay this woman right here? Well, being honest, since it's been, like 7 years since the project came out, and she still hasn't gotten the residuals that they allegedly promised her, after this, I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
She waited 7 years.
Okay,
You waited 7 years for a project that was out for 7 years. That's crazy. I don't know her reason. Maybe she couldn't talk about it for 7 years because of legal matters. That's possible as well. But you, like he said, you can't, I don't think that she's going to get compensated for something that has happened for 7 years now. Like, it's like that project has been here and gone, I mean, of course we still have the music and we still listen to the music, but like, it's nothing new, I could see 2 years, because of legal matters and everything like that. But 7 years, that's kind of a stretch.
At the end of the day, maybe this should serve as a lesson to Giannina and other people out there as well. In the business world, ain't no such thing as promised. The only language you should speak is, could you put this on paper for me? Could you put this on paper for me? That's a statement that you should always have in your head. And quote, promises they've made is when they're legally obliged to do so. I just want to add this in because this is actually important. Sometimes when you say that you want something on paper, and let's say the people that you're trying to do business with don't really feel like you're necessary in the equation, what could actually happen is that you might lose out on that opportunity. And I suspect, I could be wrong, but I suspect if she said that she wanted all this on paper, she might have probably not been on this cover. And that's kind of the tricky part here, because once you take your white hand or black hand or whatever skin color you got inside that cookie jar, hey man, you can't then pretend like you ain't tried to do that, is what I'm saying.
But yeah, y'all, he's totally right. Well, first of all, she didn't have it on contract. That's one mistake that she made. The second mistake is her waiting so long to talk about the situation. Like I said, I don't know if it was legal matters going on in that situation where she had to wait 7 years to say something, but 7 years is a stretch on how long she didn't say anything or bring up the situation. So it's kind of like, no, I can understand why it hasn't been any traction or any, spotlight on the situation, because it's a 7-year project. But it's a whole lot of people that did not know or don't know how this business goes. People really think that, oh, well, they gave me their word, so that holds weight. And it's like, no, you gotta have that shit on paper. That's the only thing that holds weight is a contract saying, okay, this is what you promised me. I'm gonna need that in paper. I'm gonna need that in writing. I'm gonna need signatures, so it can hold up in court if they don't, go through with their promise, what they told you that they would give you when it comes to your work. And like you said, sometimes when you do that, you will lose out on business because people don't think that it's worth doing all of that and all this kind of stuff. They probably find somebody else to do it or whatever. But if you really want to get compensated on what you were promised, you're going to have that in paper and in writing. It's a sad situation, but this is how the industry is, and it's been like this for years. So yeah, hopefully she learned a lesson, and hopefully other people that know about the story learned a lesson too, and they don't have to learn the hard way like she did. So yeah, but we don't have a lot of information on the topic or on the situation, so I really can't say a lot about it because other things might come out that we don't know about. So, or this will probably just be brushed under the rug and we'll never hear about it again. You never know. But from what we have right now in the situation, yeah, that's what it's looking like. But anyway, guys, what do you guys think about the situation? Leave your comments down below. Thank you guys so much for coming through. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and also follow my gaming channel, which is going to be in the description and in the comments down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Kinetics with the funky plug.